right. Thank you. How are you, everybody? Thank you for coming. Thank you. How nice to see all of you here. I'm so pleased to be at, where am I? Portland. I've always loved Portland. I've been here several times. One of the times I was here was very meaningful. I was shooting Star Trek. We had an explosion, a planned explosion on the set, and somehow the explosion was bigger. And Leonard Nimoy and I were standing beside the explosion, and they should have cracked the doors, but they didn't. Anyway, the resulting explosion caused my ears to ring, and it never went away, and that's called tinnitus, ringing in the ears. A lot of musicians have it, and it drove me nuts. And I thought at one point, I can't stand it anymore. And but I did, and I sought help in a variety of places, and finally, I ended up here, where the American Tinnitus Association is situated. So a lot of people have tinnitus in one form or another. Musicians, a lot of the military have it from the loud explosions, and Leonard has it, but I have it to an extreme degree. In any case, I came to Portland for what help they could give me, and it was here that a doctor talking to a patient who had tinnitus, standing beside a fountain where the water was gushing out, realized that the ambient noise of the fountain soothed the noise inside the patient's head. But in fact, the doctor also had tinnitus, who told me later, he said it doesn't bother him only when he's talking about it. That was his job. So he heard it all the time, and it was awful for him. Imagine, because once you become habituated to the ringing, you really don't hear it unless, like right now, I'm hearing because I'm talking about it. Imagine if that's your job, poor man. So it was here that with earphones on, that the technicians tried to find the sequence of sound that's inside my head, what the timbre is, how loud it is, and what the quality of sound, and they did reach it. And the moment they hit it, it was like a tuning fork, and I burst into tears because somebody had reached inside my head to understand, essentially, what it was I was hearing. And from that moment on, you don't get better on it, but you become habituated to the point where you accept the fact that there's a ringing in your ears, but it's not going to kill you. The sadness is you never hear a silent night again, and sometimes somebody will say, "Do you hear the crickets?" And that's just in the area of my tinnitus. So crickets and the silence of the night, and listening to something that's absolutely silent is beyond my ability. On the other hand, I became the American Tinnitus Association's spokesman for a while, and I was soliciting funds for research. Apparently, the mechanics of tinnitus is inside your ear, there are grass-like hairs called cilia, and the variation in ear pressure from your eardrums moves the cilia like grass. And those hairs are tied to nerves which go to your brain. And when you're born, you have what they've begun to call a code of silence. Like when you see things, when you're a baby, you see things upside down, but your brain rearranges it. So your brain now recognizes a code of silence. But when the cilia are harmed or deadened, that code of silence is broken, and your head is hearing noise that doesn't exist. So they're looking into research for it, and they look for funds. And I've been, in the past, soliciting funds for them. And I would get a hearing doctor to give me patients. This is not right of them to do, but we did it. So I would cold call people all over the country saying, hello, I'm William Shatner. Who? Can you hear me? I'm William. And I would solicit funds, and it's an interesting thing, because I got the names of powerful people who had the money to give for research. So these are arrogant people who've made a success of it, and the moment you talk about tinnitus, suddenly this guy is saying, well, I can't, tinnitus, and suddenly the voice changes, because this is the bottom of their life. And they say, yes, no, I hear it all the time, I don't know what to do. Well, we're trying to do research, if you could contribute funds. So I said this to a guy, I said, yes, no, I will, I'm gonna sell some stock, call me next week, I'll give you $50,000. Following week, I called, and his wife answered, and he had committed suicide because of the sound. In that time, I have talked down people who've been hysterical with fear and with anxiety, as I was, because they think the sound will never go away. It doesn't, but you become used to it. And I've talked people down from suicide who have felt so badly about their tinnitus, and I present myself as an example of someone who felt that way, but acquired habituation. This water thing that the doctor discovered, he then made what looked like hearing aids, but it caused white sound. So he would vary the pitch, and is what you hear. And if you wear them long enough, they said 10, 12 hours a day. I wore them for 24 hours a day. I slept with them. And within about 3 months, because they're raised to a level just below your tinnitus, and then within 3 months, I began to become accustomed to it. And now, in those days, they would say, what percentage of the tinnitus affects your life? And I would put down 90% of my life as tinnitus. Now, I don't even think of it, 1%. And that's the change that can be affected. But you know, the lesson really is that we human beings become habituated to anything. So if there's an illness or some part of your body doesn't work as well as it did, if there's some chronic pain, eventually your body adjusts and you become accustomed. It's a really important lesson, not only for physical things that are wrong, but for conditions that are wrong. You can become accustomed to anything in life. The opposite shouldn't happen. We shouldn't become accustomed to the degradation of our natural world. We shouldn't become accustomed to bad government. We've got to be careful that habituation doesn't work against us. But in this case, in tinnitus, it works for us. I just thought I'd talk about that for a second. Thank you. Now, so, I don't know what you want to hear from me, so I'll take questions. We're good for questions, are we? Is there a voice of authority? No, I'm the only authoritative voice. Is there a microphone for?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, good. Hold it just a second. I want to describe what I just did this last couple of weeks. 2 years ago, I opened on Broadway in a one-man show. And I did, I think, a couple of months on Broadway, limited run, and then I went on tour. And I toured 40 cities last year doing this one-man show. I'm not sure whether I came to Portland or not. And then last 2 weeks, I've done 7 more shows. And so I left Los Angeles, and now it's all a jumble of where I went, but I know I went to Las Vegas, and I know I went to Florida, and I know I went to somewhere. Anyway, this past few days, I went to Las Vegas, played a huge theater in Las Vegas, went to Cedar Rapids in the Midwest, went to New Bedford through Boston, and then from Boston to Seattle to here, all within about 4 days. And when I looked at the schedule, I thought there's no way I'm going to make it to Portland with all the storms in the midwinter and all those short flights to Chicago, from Chicago to Cedar Rapids to Chicago, Chicago to Boston. I didn't miss a minute. I arrived yesterday right on time. It was guidance. There was something going on because the storms hit last week. The storms are there now. I was in Texas last week. Beautiful weather. There's snow down there this week. So I've been lucky and got here by a miracle. So I'm so grateful to be here. So ask me a question, and then I'll sort of ramble on and try and give you an answer.
So I'm getting married in the next couple months.
What?
I'm getting married in the next.
You're newly married?
No, getting married.
You're getting married?
Yes.
Okay, do you want me to advise you?
I wanted to know your best marriage advice.
My best marriage advice. I've been married enough to know what's you know that it's very interesting that you should ask that question because the gentleman who is producing these shows, these Comic-Cons, John's married to a beautiful lady who happens to be a psychiatrist who does marriage counseling. Okay.
You should give me her number.
What?
You should give me her number. You should give me her number. Premarital counseling.
But you need count? No. Well, whatever you said, part of what my advice is, yes, you're right there. The thing you gotta watch out for, she was saying, as a marriage counselor, is disrespect. And I think there are four things that she was mentioning. But I think it all comes from that central one, which is you disrespect your partner. Yeah, you don't know what you're talking about. How many times? Yeah, I mean, sit down. Don't do that. Respect what your partner says, even if it makes no sense at all. I mean, be careful about this.